Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Monday, November 7th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the last 24 hours, we haven't seen any precipitation across the Great Basin. And over the last 7 to 30 days, we have seen significant precipitation over the last week, especially across northern Nevada up into Idaho and into the Sierra, which was well above normal for this time of year. Over the last 30 days, the image on the right shows the well above normal precipitation continues generally in the northern half and the western half of the Great Basin, with well below normal precipitation over the rest of Utah into much of southern Nevada and the Arizona Strip. The water vapor satellite loop from Monday morning shows high pressure dominating the Great Basin. However, clouds in advance of a low pressure system will move east across parts of Nevada and Idaho today. However, dry conditions are expected. Temperatures also under this ridge of high pressure this week will remain above normal. Looking now at the weather conditions later this afternoon, again the ridge of high pressure will remain in place, with this cloud cover spreading eastward through the afternoon. Generally light winds are expected, with relatively poor dispersion, especially over the northern two-thirds of the Great Basin under this ridge of high pressure. If we look at the transport winds and mixing height today, underneath high pressure you can see generally light winds. Winds might be slightly more breezy up across parts of western and central Idaho, but wind gusts generally below 25 miles per hour. Also, mixing heights will remain low across the Great Basin, with the exception of parts of the higher elevations of northern Arizona into Utah. As we move into Tuesday, this high pressure ridge expands further north with warming temperatures. Temperatures will increase to 10 degrees or more above normal in some areas, with generally dry conditions. Also, dispersion will remain poor across Utah, eastern Idaho into Wyoming under light winds. However, winds will be increasing over the western side of the Great Basin with improved dispersion. On Tuesday, looking at the winds on the image on the left, you can see this increase in south to southeast wind flow across Nevada into western Idaho, with wind gusts generally between 20 and 30 miles per hour, or slightly stronger at times. Mixing heights will also remain relatively low with the exception of parts of Nevada into the Arizona Strip, with mixing heights slightly higher. As we move into Wednesday, this ridge starts to flatten out, with still above normal temperatures and dry conditions, and winds will also decrease on Wednesday, with the ventilation index also decreasing across most areas of the Great Basin. Looking at the transport winds and the mixing heights on Wednesday, and you can see this decrease in winds in all areas. There still may be some breezy winds in parts of the Sierra or far western Nevada and into central Idaho, but most wind gusts will remain below 20 or 25 miles per hour, with much lighter winds further east. Also, mixing heights will be decreasing, so again, poor dispersion is expected in most areas again on Wednesday. If we look at the forecast clearing index for the state of Utah over the next 3 days, and you can generally see these low clearing indices really in all days with the exception of parts of the far south to southwest portion of Utah, which may see higher clearing indices. Looking at the overall forecast amount of precipitation for the next 3 days under that ridge of high pressure, as expected, we are not going to see any appreciable precipitation across the area, with really any moisture confined to the western areas of the Pacific Northwest. As we move into Thursday, this ridge will still dominate but now be centered over the central Rockies. Therefore, we will start to see changes in the weather pattern as we get later in the week into the weekend. Still, generally poor dispersion is expected in most areas, but may be slightly higher than what we'll see through Wednesday under the stronger ridge. As we move into Friday, this ridge is now pushed far to the east, and we have an approaching trough of low pressure off the west coast, which may bring some showers to parts of northern California and to far northwest Nevada, and also some slightly breezier winds over the northwest portion of Nevada into western Idaho. As you can see from the ventilation index, we may see increased winds over parts of Nevada, which will allow dispersion to increase, but still generally poor dispersion over the eastern side of the basin. As we move into Saturday, this first quick-moving system moves east over the central areas of the Great Basin with at least some cloud cover and possibly light shower activity, but we're not expecting any significant amounts of precipitation. Still generally light winds and some cooling temperatures will occur this weekend as that first system moves through, but temperatures will still remain near to above normal. Generally poor dispersion will continue with the exception of parts of central Nevada. By Sunday, we start to see the effects of a stronger trough moving into the Pacific Northwest with greater moisture for parts of the western and northern side of the Great Basin. Most of this will be in the effect of cloud cover, but we will start to see some shower activity, especially over northwest Nevada into parts of Idaho. The ventilation index on Sunday will still remain relatively low over much of Utah into the northern half of Nevada, but may increase somewhat over parts of southern areas of the Great Basin. The overall forecast amount of precipitation for just days 4 and 5, which takes us through early Saturday morning, is generally dry conditions, but again, we will start to see some moisture move in later in the weekend. Looking at the extended outlook, which takes us through the middle portion of November, generally warmer and drier conditions are expected across much of the Great Basin. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.